Today on Indie Postcard, we're super excited to deliver you a chat with 6 Foot Blonde. 6 Foot Blonde is a 6-piece indie soul band from Bloomington, Indiana, consisting of Julia Rusyniak on vocals, Dom Heyob on bass and backing vocals, Brian Healey on drums, Josh Alex Rusyniak on keys, Elliot Obermaier on guitar, and Zach Patrick on guitar as well. The band released their first EP, their debut EP, last spring called Tino's Place. They also just released a new single called Perpendicular Universe. Julia has really beautiful, jazzy vocals that are super timeless, and it's obviously a really full band, and we're really excited to talk to them here in the green room at Evanston SPACE music venue. So let's get into it. Today, I'm here with 6 Foot Blonde. We're super excited to be talking to them. Thanks so much for being here, guys. We're gonna just jump right into questions. So can you all introduce yourself and then tell us what instrument you play in the band? And I'll start with you.
My name is Dom Heyob. I'm the bass player in the band. I do some backup vocals as well.
My name is Zach Patrick. I'm a guitar player, and I also do backup vocals.
I'm Brian Healey, and I play the drums.
I'm Julia Rusyniak, and I sing.
I'm Elliot Obermaier, and I also play guitar.
My name is John Rusyniak, and I play piano, keys, organ, all that.
All that jazz.
Awesome. Yeah, big full band. Love that. We've never done an interview with this many people, so this is exciting. First time for everything. Julia, can you tell us how you guys all met, or like how this came to be?
Yeah, came together so unplanned that I think when someone asks me to describe it, it's kind of hard to describe because it was just very like serendipitous, and it just happened very naturally. So John and I are siblings. Brian grew up down the street from us. They were roommates. They were good friends, the three of them. We were all in a club together. So like there's all these outside factors. And then COVID happened and we just miss music a lot and use these like inner, connections of just like these random like, oh, I know Dom. I don't know Dom super well, but I know he plays bass,
Yeah,
like
not at the time.
sort of things. And we were like, let's just make some music. And Emma Sparts used to sing with us, and she used to sing with me in the band. And then three other people, Sam Boland, Adam Cohen, and Caleb Weisenflue. We were all asked to do a gig that was like COVID safe and just a way for people to hear music. And, at the time we hadn't heard music in like over a year. So it felt like it was something we were really called to do. So we made a group and we were like, we didn't have a name or anything. We were like, we're just going to put together a set and, do some tunes. It probably didn't sound the best, but we did it. And then all of a sudden it's like, we were asked to do another gig and then another gig. And eventually we were like, we need a name. So we just came up with a name, and here we are almost 3 years later. And we have music out and working on new music. So it was kind of super sporadic and random, but these like little connections that we all had together really made us what we are today.
Absolutely, and we had a 2.5-year journey from Bluebird, the cover band, to mainly an original act, which is that in itself is another tale, but it's been a great experience so far, touring and everything.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. So you touched on how you guys, John, and you are siblings. Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of connections within the group. What is it like? I actually want to ask John this question. What is it like performing with your sister, and like, how does that like almost change the dynamic of the band?
It's a good question. So I grew up with Julia, basically performing in my house every single day in our basement. We had like an old piano, and that's what, we both grew up playing, and pretty much every day between the hours of 5 to 8, one of us was on it, maybe even later than that. So I felt like it feels right to, be playing music with you, but also like it is a weird, colliding of worlds, because we were kind of in separate worlds, and then it was like, oh wait, we can do this, and our dad has always been pushing us to play music. We're on his podcast. He had a podcast for a while, and we were like the house band for it.
What was the name of your house band?
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
So we had like a house band that was basically formed because he would pay us $50 every time that we did it, and we needed money. So it would be like, he'd be like, give it to us on Friday, and it'd be Thursday night. Me and Julia would be like, all right, let's find some song, and let's quickly record a version of it. Record it on an iPhone, and then it'd be on a podcast.
So your parents are musical as well, it sounds like?
I would say that they're music enthusiasts.
Okay.
They're both very creative people, and they love the arts. Neither of them really play instruments. They were like the high school musician. And yeah, I think our mom played flute in high school, but Dad played trumpet. But if you asked either of them to pick up an instrument today, I don't think that they could do anything. However, they love music, and so they were always they invested in nice speakers. My dad loves records, so there's music all the time playing out throughout the house, which we were just so fortunate and privileged to have. So yeah, that really was what fueled the two of us to love music.
I love that. I definitely come from a family like that. Neither of my parents play, but just grew up with music on 24/7.
Yeah.
So definitely influenced a lot of my taste, and even just working here at Space. But I wanted to ask just a quick, I always think this is kind of fun. Could you guys describe 6 Foot Blonde using 3 adjectives? And maybe someone who hasn't talked yet. I'm past the talking stick. The mics are making me laugh.
You got it?
I'm trying to think of adjectives, and of course now I'm drawing a blank. 3 adjectives. Elliot, you like books?
I do like books. I do. Hot take. I'd say focused is definitely.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's everybody in the group is really focused.
Hit 'em with the business.
I think it applies just artistically focused. That's 2 adjectives. I would say. Everybody is very I know the word, but I can't think of the word.
Beautiful.
Collaborative.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that with 6 people and coming from a group of 9 too, it's really hard to sometimes find your lane, and everybody here is very collaborative and working for that. So focused and collaborative are the initial 2, and then just goofy.
Yeah.
Zach is a heinous individual over there. Heinous.
I'll take goofy.
No, but we're very goofy, and just everyone for as serious as people get. So focused and goofy, I think that's the yin and yang of the band. Is everyone's really down to the brass tacks when they're ready for it, but then also turn off really, really quickly. So,
Those are great adjectives. So focused, creative, and collaborative.
Yes.
I feel like that's a really good one.
And I guess heinous for me.
And heinous, yeah.
Zach
for
gets
Zach.
one special adjective for Zach.
Poor guy. Poor guy. Great answer. So this question's more for Julia. I do wish I could ask all of you because I really want to know everyone's story, but we don't have time for that, unfortunately. So we're just going with Julia. Could you tell us what got you into music and singing? You kind of talked about music. What got you interested in singing?
I think, so I grew up with parents, like I said, who are just big arts enthusiasts. And as a kid, my parents were always encouraging, music around the house, and I fell in love with musical theater. I was the annoying girl on the back of the bus who was looking out the window singing Broadway tunes at age of 6, and everyone was this girl needs to get a grip, and the whole time I was one day you guys will get it. One day I'll be a star. And everyone, was just super annoyed with me. And then eventually my parents were okay, this is we need to put her in a musical or something so she can really get this energy out. And so, because I would run around the neighborhood just scream singing to every house, and it was chaotic mess, but a beautiful mess at the same time. And so, yeah, I started doing musical theater, and for a long time, that's where my heart was. I just was so invested into it. I loved acting and dancing as well. And then, as you grow up, your voice changes, and I was like very much an alto at the time, and I went from, having this nice high voice to all of a sudden I can't sing the big girl Broadway songs anymore because that's just the way genetically like my voice is. And I fell in love with just like music and not necessarily musical theater as a way to exercise singing. And so all of a sudden, there's this like status quo musical theater voice, and then my voice just kept going further and further away from it. And that's where I really fell in love with songwriting, was I wanted to have songs I could sing that would fit the rasp or, and the belt that I wanted to do. And I loved this idea of being able to just sing how I wanted to and not have to put on a character, or I could just, tell a story and just tell it as Julia, which was just something that felt like very therapeutic for me. And so, that really took off, I think, my junior year of high school. And then from there, it's just been trying to take it further and further and trying to find my voice and who I am as an artist. And really, even today we know this, I'm still trying to find my voice as a singer. And it's cool because, every song we write, it gets closer and closer to really finding who I am. But yeah, it's been a long journey, and it's also been an annoying journey, I know, for a lot of my neighbors, because I'm sure that they've heard me singing now for 22 years.
Yeah, you have a really beautiful voice.
Thank you.
I feel like that's not
it.
something that a lot of singers get to talk about, is like how your vocals change over time, and
Yeah.
how that could be really challenging.
Oh yeah, it was a big challenge for me, especially because I'm such a perfectionist, and I grew up, in musical theater where my best friends were just getting closer and closer to this like perfect voice, and all of a sudden I'm like, I've got a little rasp, like I can sing low, like I don't know
You
if that's
leaned
like,
into it.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
eventually I was like, I'm not going to be good if I just try to fit myself into a box I'm built around. So that's really how I got to where I am today. But yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. So since we can't put your actual music into this podcast episode, so for people who don't know 6 Foot Blonde and Julia, could one of you guys try to explain Julia's voice maybe?
Ooh, I feel like that's a Dom question because
great Dom
Dom
voice.
harmonizes me a lot.
Oh
so
yeah,
I feel like
backing vocals, harmonies,
the best.
totally.
Sure, yeah.
Be nice. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to insult you to the listeners. No. I think Julia's voice is this really cool combination of like a youthful sort of pop-oriented sound, but she also has this added layer of, I think maturity in the timbre that you can have with what you sing. It comes from I think a lot of it derives from your inspirations with who you like to listen to. You typically reference Susan Tedeschi as someone that when you were trying to seek what you wanted your voice to sound like and how you wanted to sing, I think you speak about that a lot. And I do think it comes across in some of the ways in which you sing. And I also think that you've got this very unique attribute that sort of steps out of the typical pop voice because of that, where you can have these very genuinely powerful moments, I think, that cut through primarily with the way that you choose to sing, which is really cool. So that's what I'd say about how you sing. And Zach's got something.
I think your voice is very nuanced, and seeing you live in person is the best way to kind of understand every aspect of your voice that Dom just talked about.
Yeah, I will say too, I recently I'm trying to dive more into using my head voice as a way to describe emotion. And I think, up until a year ago, I was the way to describe powerful emotion is just by belting. And I think a lot of our new stuff that we've been writing, I'm using my head voice as it's very different than my chest voice. It's very light and it's very, very airy. And my chest voice definitely has that, like you said, that kind of like deeper kind of, it's like a ball, you know, in my,
It's very soulful and like gritty.
yeah, right. And so it's been really interesting trying to play with using my head voice, which is like totally underdeveloped, and that probably comes from the fact that I was a musical theater kid. You know, we don't use our head voices in musical theater, and so it's been kind of really fun to use that as a way to emote in my music. So
Yeah,
that's a new aspect
Absolutely.
to the voice.
I would also say that it's in that vein. It's been very cool to see you develop these two like very distinct attributes of your voice, especially in the new stuff they're running, like you said. Like there are a lot of our songs where they actually feature both. You know, we've got like a lot of these like soft, gentle moments, and then as we go, you're able to express the other side of you as well. And it's like this kind of yin and yang of like we get to see both elements of you, and it's been really cool to see that develop. Actually, it's been cool to see how that's been influencing not just your voice, but also the way in which we write our songs. So I think that's been really cool. Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder, so not to compare you to Billie Eilish, because I don't really think your voices are similar, but I just thought what you said about head and chest voice was really interesting. I saw that she was talking about that in an interview recently about her song What Was I Made For, and how that's like a very soft, like extremely soft vocals, but like how powerful that song is and feels, and it doesn't always have to come from like that place, like in your chest. It can come from still like controlled. What is like a head voice though? I've never actually heard of that term, so I like felt like I understood what you meant,
right?
But I don't know the technical.
Yeah. I think, you know, too, I use terms just a lot of times based on how they feel in my body. So like the way that, you know, the voice sits, for me, it sits differently for everybody. For me, it sits very it's very here, and it's very resonant, my chest voice. And then basically as I get higher and higher, I can mix it, which is where it kind of sits here. And then once it gets super high and kind of airy is where it feels like my voice is sitting literally in my head. And so like even if you were to put your hand like on my chest while I sang, if I was singing like a nah, like that's here. And I'm going like up here, it's like ah, like that's in my head. Yeah. And so that would be a way to like describe it. I know guys, like if you think about like male artists that use like a chest voice, you know, and really belt, it's like, you know, a man that's singing really low, or like a woman, it would be like Adele. And then if you think about like a really light and airy voice, I think of like for a guy it would be like Tom York, you know, he uses his head voice. We say falsetto a lot of times for men. And then for, you know, a girl, I would think of like Billie Eilish. It's like that kind of difference in timbre and delivery, and it's where the voice sits in the body. And so it's been really interesting because it is like a muscle, you know? So it feels like this part of my voice feels very developed. And then this part up here, it's still trying to grow and learn how to deliver itself in a way that I want it to, and to control it the way that I want it to. And so it's literally like a muscle.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And that's cool how breaking out of musical theater has allowed you to like play with that more.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. Thanks for
totally.
Explaining that. You
Yeah,
did a
of
really
course.
good job explaining
Cool.
that.
Awesome.
I want to ask, so we did a poll on the indie postcard story because I was curious like what our listeners would want to know about like a rising indie band. And the most popular question was kind of what you guys like best, enjoy most about being an artist. You all are musicians and artists in different ways. So what's kind of your favorite thing, and then what's the most challenging? If each of you could give like a few sentences about that.
And this is just about being an artist in general,
Yeah,
right?
I'd say so. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
However you want to approach it.
Start with you, John.
Oh man.
I know it's a heavy question.
No, that's okay. I can be quick. I like to have something to like share with the world, I guess, in a way. Like it's like a piece of you that is like open for everyone to see, and it's like both, you know, cool and like vulnerable. And I think that, I don't know, just having that like like small piece of you that's out there forever. Like that's cool. Oh, and the most challenging would be actually making that happen. actually taking
The follow through.
yeah, a piece of you and giving it to the world.
Beautiful.
I love, like, writing is so therapeutic, and whatever emotion you're feeling that day, you can go write and see that tangibly or listen to that tangibly. So that's just the coolest thing in the world. And then being able to share it with these people first and see where how they interpret it and how they develop it is really, I think that's been my favorite part. Especially, I love playing live too. Like that's always almost feels separate because that's just like I'd do that for free any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Do you help write the songs for the band?
Yeah, I think
heard
we
it
all
was
do.
from Zach
Yeah.
that it was kind of a collective process.
Yeah, like everybody, a lot of times, like we'll come with the chord progression, someone will come in with like a layer, or Julia will come with a layer, and then Julia will start writing lyrics over it, or someone will have a theme to it. A lot of times, like for me personally, it's like the way that I write is it's like if something happens to me in my life, or it's like if I'm listening to something, or if I'm exploring something in practice, and then I like get inspired by that, then to me there's already a theme about what that's inspired by, and like that will be the theme of the song. And then we'll all talk about that like with Julia, and we'll start writing lyrics, or she'll start writing lyrics to that theme. And then everyone will start putting the finishing touches on it. And we've learned that it has to start in small groups or going big because 6 people can make songwriting really long.
Yeah, lots of opinions.
Yeah, I think that would honestly be the hardest part, is like going back to that challenge. See that transition there?
That was nice, very nice.
Thank you. It's definitely like knowing how to taper it off. Because it's fun to share your idea and collaborate with everybody on it, but it also means that there's 6 different avenues that you can always explore. And sometimes I get frustrated, and then it's like I want to explore all of them and can't, or like I have a very specific single-minded direction on it, and know that like, oh, Julia took it somewhere different, and that's better than what I was thinking, but it's not what I was thinking. And so that can definitely be, I think, the challenge of getting over it from a collaborative and a creative standpoint.
Yeah, especially with such a big group. Great answer.
For me, I don't know. It's just like John said, it's really cool to be able to share a part of myself that the world would otherwise not be able to see. I think it's so cool to see musicians use their voice and their music as a way to communicate to people that they're not alone in what they're feeling. And I don't know, music for me has like been a huge lifesaver because it's people's emotions that I can connect to. And, you know, it could be someone talking about a very, like, niche experience, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, like, but this fits into my life in this way. And so it's just really cool, especially just with being able to write music and to be able to share with people the way I'm feeling and hopefully have people think, oh my gosh, like, I feel heard by this. That is like the coolest thing to me. And also to be able to have a platform to where we can then use our music to change people or just put a smile on their face. Like music is beautiful, and it's really getting to work with music that is what's creating that. But the fact that we get to be, you know, a tool in that is just so cool to me. And the biggest challenge, I think for me, it's not comparing myself to other people at where they are in their life. It's really easy for me to look at, you know, the 16-year-old that is number 2 on the charts or whatever I may be, and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. Or to think, oh, I'm not at that. I don't have that voice, and I really wish I had that voice. Or I didn't write that. I really wish I wrote that. It's to be able to be yourself and to be confident in that is its own challenge. But I do think that having these guys next to me to help me do that, it's like we're very unique in that it's the 6 of us, and that is a reassurance enough for me that, you know, what's happening is what's meant to happen. But I will say it's just hard sometimes, and that's just a part of the human experience in anything that you're doing. You're always going to be looking at someone and think, I'm behind, or I'm not doing this right, or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's nice that I have these guys to help me realize that, you know, it's meant to be. So yeah.
And in some ways, I feel like social media has probably made that a lot. I mean, I feel like that as an artist, when the comparison of like, oh, I don't have this many followers, or, you know, probably this song was here on the charts or had this many listeners with Spotify Wrapped. Like, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to access, like, artists, like, so readily, and, like, musicians, and that's how I got connected with you, like, which is really awesome that it can be a tool for that. But I feel like I've heard from a lot of musicians that it's really hard to not, like, compare yourself and, like, be like, well, I'm not here, so
Right.
I don't know what's the point or something.
Right.
But that's obviously not what it's about. So.
And it's always important too to understand that, like, it's hard with social media to realize this, but there's always going to be someone that is better at you with
and
whatever
someone
it may
who's
be.
behind, like,
Right, and someone
on
that's
both,
behind you.
and,
Right, exactly.
And neither, yeah.
And
so
it's
good to
it's like you have to
remember.
just, like, be like, yeah, this person knows more about music theory than me, or, you know, has more followers or whatever it may be, but they're not me, and they're themselves, and what they're doing is exactly what they're meant to do, and what I'm doing is exactly what the path that I'm meant to take. And it's
I love that.
It's
That's
nice
so
to,
nice.
yeah, it's nice to
She's
remember
just
that.
spitting, like, I love this. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so nice.
Exactly, but yeah, and I will say it, like I said, it's easy to have that mentality of we've got this when there's 6 of us, versus if you're a solo artist or someone doing it all on your own, being like, oh my gosh, it's like I have 5 other people telling me.
Is it just reassurance?
It's-
Like them being like,
yeah.
no, the song is good, or like, no, we resonate with it.
A lot of it's reassurance, and a lot of it is just like the same way it's like, you know, the classic dad saying, if your friends were doing this, would you also do it? It's like, yeah, Dad, I would. Like, you know, like the fact that they're doing it with me, it's like, it's confident. It makes me feel those days where I'm like, is this not the, you know, like I'm worried. What if this doesn't work out? It's like I have 5 people experiencing the same exact feelings that I am, telling me, yeah, let's do it, you know? And that's reassuring versus having to just battle yourself, you know? It's having 5 other voices saying, you got this, you know? So, yeah. Oh, you got one.
So for me, when I was really little, I asked my dad what it means to be a musician, a professional musician, and he
What
described
does
it pretty.
your dad do?
He was a professional photographer for about 25 years, and then he self-taught guitarist, and he writes about a song every day on average. It feels
Wow.
like so very
That's
very
insane.
prolific. But I just asked him, like, as if he knew, you know, the answer. And he described it very succinctly in that it means you can sleep in as long as you want. And I kind of take that as it's freedom. You know, we have the freedom to express ourselves how we want musically, how we want visually, all these things. And I think that's the best part of being an artist for me. We can express ourselves on stage however we want.
Your dad sounds awesome.
I think he's pretty cool. And yeah, I've had that goal in my mind of I want to be able to sleep in as long as I want. But that overarching thing just means I want to have the freedom to express myself.
And that, like, what will come will come. I feel like
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
a really nice way of, like, not putting so much pressure on it has to happen today. Like, it'll happen, but things happen in their own time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then it plays in a little bit to the hardest part is achieving that freedom is really hard. And Julie stole my answer a little bit of, I know. It's really hard. There's a lot of things to do to actually make that happen. And we're just really well equipped as a group that we have 6 people to kind of divide all of the responsibilities that it takes to achieve what we want to. So there's not just one person doing everything, whether it's booking, whether it's social media management, whether it's art, whether it's whatever. We can split that up if we need to. That no one person is going to be bogged down. And I think that has us on a good path towards that freedom.
Absolutely. For me personally, the opportunity to play live is the best thing as an artist. Whether it be 25 people in a dive bar 3 blocks away from my house, or a 1,500 cap like outdoor festival. The opportunity to share music, especially with these 6 people on a stage somewhere, is outstanding. And everyone's kind of alluded to it, but I think the process of learning how to work with one another has been the most challenging part, whether it be in the songwriting process, whether it be the, all the other stuff that comes with a band that you have to, whether the business side really. I think that has been a really challenging, but honestly, with that challenge, it's allowed all of us to grow as individuals. So the challenging part's also really fun and important part.
I think the most rewarding part for me as an artist is, I think what I've always appreciated the most about being creative is when I can step into a space and help something achieve greater potential. And I think that when I stepped into this group, with every aspect of what we do, especially within the songwriting, being able to step into a space and to just help whoever's guiding or leading this process of like, all right, what can we do to take this as far as it can go? What can we do to keep pushing this? Let's keep thinking about every single thing that we can to just make this the best it can be. That's what is the most rewarding thing for me
It's
as an
also a
artist.
skill. I feel like every group and team needs like the person that's like making sure everyone's heard, like all of that kind of like just the collaborator of the group,
Right, yeah, exactly. And I think that's like simultaneously what I love most, and is also like I think my challenge as well is like not only like balancing all of that, but also accepting that everything happens in incremental steps of like you should and can be incredibly proud of every song that you release, but you can't work on it forever. So it's like, all right, this is the stopping point for this, and we should dive even further into whatever the next thing is, right? So sometimes like I think that sort of like letting go aspect is something that like I've gotten a lot better about, but it is sometimes still a challenge. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I relate very hard. I mean, because you technically could work on something forever.
Oh, you could.
But
Yeah.
why? No.
Why?
At
Yeah.
some point, you gotta call it and say it's good enough.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, and you guys have released some really awesome work, so I don't think you should be worried about it. So good answers, everyone. We're gonna kind of try to go more quickly for the next few, just and wrap it up here. That was
talkers,
awesome, though.
sorry.
No, that was awesome. You guys did a great job. Just wanting to keep it rolling and not waste your time. So I guess let's jump into your discography a little bit. So you released your debut single, Calling to Karma, in October of 2022. So you haven't been releasing music for that long. And followed by your debut EP, Tino's Place, and then the singles Lady and Perpendicular Universe. So who wrote Calling to Karma? Because I feel like that's definitely the song that, like, when I think of your group comes to mind. And tell us a little bit, you kind of got into it, so just give us a little bit about, like, that songwriting process.
Yeah, so Zach, you said the song for chord progression came to you in a dream, didn't you?
Honestly,
This
it's
is
the
lore.
funniest
This
thing
is 6 Foot Blonde lore.
It's true. It felt like you ever hear the story of when Paul McCartney wrote Yesterday? Like it kind of just happened to it.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that Calling to Karma is as good of a song, but a similar phenomenon where I just woke up one day, I had a verse and a chorus progression, and I was like, I rarely write songs, and it was just kind of. It was a freak thing, and I was really excited and presented to the group, and everyone was on board.
Yeah.
And Julia wrote some great melodies. If you
Yeah,
want to talk about that.
Emma, who used to be in the band with us, her and I were like loving this idea that he brought to us, and we were like, we need a fun, like catchy song. We were really struggling on what to make the song about, and then we were like, you know what? Let's just like go get drinks, go out, hang out. So we went out to like the bar that it's like has a live music ad, but it always has all the drama there too. Like, so we went into the bathroom and we heard these girls talking about some drama, and we were like, we know exactly what we need to write this song about. And we just wrote it basically as like two girls pretending to be like two girls in a bathroom talking about, this like drama that's happening in their life. And we thought we'd make it just super tongue-in-cheek and just very fun. And so that's how we came up with the hook of like, I'll call to karma, let what happens to you happen to you. But, I keep my side of the street clean, in the words of Taylor Swift.
Is that a
but, yeah.
reference also, like with Taylor Swift's song Karma? I
Well,
was wondering if there was any connection
I think
there.
our song came out before.
Really?
Yeah. So
Hey!
Taylor,
if
if you're
listening.
listening to this, I'm gonna tell
Six Foot
everybody
Blonde
that
might
we
have done it
inspired you.
first.
So
You're both blonde.
we are, yeah.
and
So
you might have done it.
It'll be our
first.
secret, okay? It'll be our secret.
Hey, and Paul
But yeah.
McCartney. You got Paul McCartney on your side too.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Exactly. But yeah, no. So
That's a really awesome
yeah.
story. And
Yeah, it
it's
was super
such a
fun.
fun, catchy song. So I
Totally.
think you definitely accomplished that.
Yeah.
I love the line, is it call your mama, not my line?
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. That's
Call
so,
your mama, not my line.
so cute.
Yeah.
It's like you're not my problem anymore.
Exactly.
I love
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Is that so? Yeah, it's different for every song how it comes together. 'Cause
Totally.
I assume
Yeah.
Zach's not dreaming up every song, but that is really really special and really cool that happened to you.
Yeah. Super cool.
Very cool.
I think that like we've seen a lot of transition with the way that we write music from then to now. Over the past year, we basically, we like really put our noses to the grindstone? Yes.
Yeah,
We really put our noses to the grindstone, and like with the six of us sat and just really worked hard at trying to understand how we can write cohesively, consistently. And I think, we've had a lot of those, like, we still have like these chaotic moments of like, oh, it just happens. And I think Karma was one of those. And I think a lot more of the time now, it's like you were saying, Elliot, like typically it's like, Julia, you've got a melody, or, like we've got a riff, or we've got, like a chord progression coming in. And I think we've started to really hone in on the process of what specific things we need to do to like make the songs what we want them to be, especially with this new batch. Like, I think we've really started to hone in on the process more. So.
Yeah, I would say that makes sense to me. I think that your newest song, Perpendicular Universe, is probably my favorite of your discography, so I could definitely see like the growth there. It feels like a little bit more, like, yeah, almost thought out, kind of, like it was intentional, I guess that's the word, not thought out, intentional is a better word. There's a line that was just a good transition, so we're gonna just jump into this next question. There's a line in that song that I really I really enjoy. When everything is something and everything has substance, it's meaningless abundance. Could you talk about that line a little bit? Like, what that means?
Yeah. So I think at the time I was really battling with, do we do the music thing? Like, do we really do it? Because it was, the first song we had written when it was just the six of us, and they brought it to me, and I'm a student. We're all either post-grad students or, undergrad students right now, and I'm not studying music. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? This is my passion. This is what I love. But also, I feel like, what if I wasted, 4 years to then go pursue something that has, nothing to do with what I'm studying? And I was really grappling with this idea. So then I was like, oh my gosh, what do I write the song about? And I was like, what if I, write it about how if this was not worth it, then nothing is worth it. And so that's the line, is like, if nothing is nothing, then nothing has to be, nothing's something. And, so if there's no point in doing it, then what's the point at all? It's like very,
Yeah.
if
I mean,
nothing's
even the
everything,
title-
everything's nothing,
even
right?
the title like alludes to
Right.
that, like just like things having substance, and it
Exactly.
all being a part of the big picture. So
Exactly.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. I want to ask one more thing before I ask my last question. So obviously, I feel like we didn't talk about this at all. Just that you guys are students or graduated from University of Indiana. So go Hoosiers. You, I said that with as like a U of I girl. I'm like, go Hoosiers. You play a lot at Bluebird. That's where our friend Luke saw you and like texted me like you should check out this band actually. Yeah, shout out Luke, real one. I guess I'm wondering, performing, like, do you prefer performing to, like, recording? What are your shows like for people that haven't seen them?
I've talked a lot too, but I could take it if you got it. All right.
I think recording is, like, we started as a live band, right? And Bluebird is Brian doesn't call it a real venue in a lot of ways because it's so interesting where it's, it's a local venue, but then Marcus King is there a week and a half or 2 weeks ago now, where it's just this weird myriad of supporting local artists and doing that, but also entertaining a crowd. And it's a 2.5 hour show. So it's a really long show. And I think coming up, as we just did our 50th show there actually, and that's a lot of shows. That's a lot of 2.5 hour shows. That's, Zach, what's the math on that?
It's like 150 hours.
Yeah, like 150 hours. Julia, look at you. Zach's the finance
Didn't
guy.
even need Zach
Yeah.
there.
So like 150 hours of performing consecutive shows, I think, really honed our playing and performance chops and engaging a crowd and focusing on, all right, what's good, what's chaos versus what's building a song, what's creating tension versus playing sloppily, like there's all those different dynamics. And so we're all really grateful for Bluebird for just giving us those 150 hours. But it definitely meant that we were a live band first, and we still probably are a live band first in a lot of ways, and we're just now really over the last 6 months diving into the recording side. So I think, the energy and the tightness and, Zach and John are incredible soloists, and that's something that's really fun to see throughout all of that. And like Julia has such a great voice, as does Dom, and like Brian's keeping it down the whole time. So like learning how to
Elliot also
hone,
is a phenomenal soloist.
Thanks, buddy. Learning how to like hone all of that live, really, it develops a musical backbone that translates to the studio, but also means that it's dry. And I think now we're trying to figure out the elements of, all right, this awesome, super energetic. I would describe our live shows like energetic, tight. There's a lot of fun. Like, we like to have fun live. Our goal is to make sure that everybody leaves with a smile on their face, and like, we can't change the world, but we can make people's nights a little better. And now that we're more experienced musicians, the recording side is, I think, the interesting side where
It's fun.
It's a lot more fun, yeah, because we have that backbone, and we have, the communication levels are way higher than they used to be because we've played so many shows together now, and we went on tour together, and we have spent a lot of time together. But I think we're definitely becoming more of a studio band with a really strong live presence first. So I would say that that's the difference, and it's everybody's kind of coming into their own with elements that they want to bring, production styles that they want to bring. Now we're bringing on producers and figuring that out. So
That's awesome.
yeah, the recording side definitely feels like a bigger, like it's a little bit scarier. Like I'd be a lot more scared of Electric Lady than I would be Red Rocks if we were put in that scenario, just because the recording space is just less familiar. But it's also, there's something beautiful about like not knowing as much as what can happen and just like diving into that creatively and seeing what happens with our music.
Yeah, if anything, it seems like it would be more challenging to adapt to like a live setting than
Definitely.
recording. So I know a lot of artists like kind of are like studio artists, and then they start touring, and it's like there's an awkwardness on stage, like
Totally.
a chemistry that's not there just because there's like now more people in the room.
Yeah.
And it's a less controlled setting, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome that you've almost gone
I
the
would-
other way.
Yeah, I would definitely take it that way over being especially with 6 people. Like,
Yeah.
Having a live show first, I feel like, has allowed us to grow. Just from a fan base perspective, it's allowed you to grow a lot more quickly. It's allowed us to be a lot more sustainable. You can go new places and do all of that more. So I'm very, very grateful that we have been able to be a live band first. I think it's made the whole thing a lot more tangible.
Is there any final message you want to like leave with listeners of our podcast about like your band or making music, maybe people that are interested in making music themselves? Anything.
Yeah, I'll say something and then I'll pass the mic off. But I'm talking to all you listening, if you've thought about making music, just do it. Just do it. I think that I would not be sitting here about to play, a show in Chicago, which
At
is like
Shoebuzz,
at
let
Shoebuzz,
alone.
if I were to say, oh, I didn't fit in the box, I guess it's not for me. Like, because I decided to challenge myself and be like, yeah, I'm not a musical theater girl. Like, that's totally fine. I get to do really cool things. So don't compare. Don't, if you don't fit inside, this genre or this whatever, and you're struggling with identity of like, I have to be exactly like the world wants me. If I look like this, I need to make music like this. Or if I dress like this, I need to make music like this. Or if I sound like this, I need to sing like don't just make what you want to make, because it will take you way further than if you're trying to fit into the identity of someone else. So
Great answer.
yeah.
Slay, Julia.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would say like find something that doesn't feel like work, and then work really hard at that, and it won't tire you out and will just be really rewarding.
Yep. Strive to sleep in.
Oh yeah.
I think music
I've
is.
done that.
Well, honestly, it's hard to
It's hard to top that.
It's hard to top that, but.
Zach's
I will.
just become the punching bag for no reason.
Oh, I always am. It's
We
okay.
love you. We love
I
you,
think
Zach.
Normally
music
down.
is the best way to express yourself, and if you have any interest in that, regardless of any ability or whatever, just take the time and spend it to not only make yourself happy, but eventually make others happy. I don't. Did I win?
No.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. So
Yeah, that's fine.
We've got new music coming out
yeah,
in the
all
future.
that stuff. Bunch of new music.
When is that?
Gonna
Yeah.
be really good.
Thank you for saying that.
I was gonna say it's also going to be very different from some of the other
When
stuff we've
is
been
this
making.
new music? Is there like a
In the
In
future.
the
In the
future.
future. We
Okay.
have strives for a single first, so you can be expecting one song to then set the tone for what will be a project. Which
music will be out sometime between 2024 and 2034.
We could reduce that.
we could totally reduce
a number
that.
of
In
years.
2024, new music will be out.
I'm glad you said that,
So,
John. Can we
yes.
also plug your socials? So
Yes.
make sure you follow 6 Foot Blonde on Instagram. Is it just 6 Foot Blonde? Do you know the handle?
It is 6 Foot Blonde. It's just SIXFOOTBLONDE.
Easy money. Okay. And then anywhere else you'd want people to check you out? I mean, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music. Any other
Yeah.
socials that
We have a
want?
Facebook. If you don't have a
Facebook.
Instagram, our Facebook is just our Instagram. It's just connected to our Instagram.
Yeah.
And we have a website where you can get tickets.
It's
for
actually a really
some
sick
shows.
website.
And
so
we have a
go check it
TikTok.
out.
We're working on being better at posting on it, but we do have a TikTok. So
Yeah, you heard it here.
That website is 6 Foot Blonde, spelled FT Blonde, SIXFTblonde.com. You can check out all of our touring dates and ticket links and links to our singles and some photos. So that's it.
Amazing.
Anyway, that's the plug. So.
Go ahead, say it, Julie. What is it?
thank you guys so much.
Thank you. That's
Thank
a
you guys
wrap.
so
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yay.